The Jacksonville police have decided that they want to keep up with every other police department in America and show that they can kill black men. And so we're here today to talk about D'Angelo Stallworth and the bullcrap story that these police officers made up to try to justify his killing. I'm going to walk you through point by point why this whole story is bullcrap. Number one, police officers go to an apartment complex to check on an eviction notice at a totally different apartment. What grounds, what reason do they have to approach D'Angelo at his apartment where he's visiting his kids when that's not the apartment where the eviction was being served, and they had no grounds to believe any crime was going on? What gave them a right to approach this young man and begin to question him as if he was being investigated for a crime? That's number one. That's what we need to ask. Number two, this is the major question that we need to ask. Every time a police officer kills a young black man, the story is that he rushed at me with a gun, he pulled the gun on me, he pointed a gun at us, and he was going to kill us. Although the officers rarely ever got shot or a gun was even found. This is what we need to know. Every sane black male in America knows that to pull a gun in front of a cop, to pull a gun, to draw a gun, to even say gun or move the wrong way is going to assure you a death. It is essentially suicide to do that or even act in that way. So when officers start claiming that a young black man did this, we need to immediately ask, did this young man have a history of severe mental illness and a desire to commit suicide? Because if he didn't, we ought not believe he pulled a gun on two officers who he knows are armed with bulletproof vests, trained to kill, and quick to kill a black man. That's number one. The next thing we need to ask is this. If this young man all of a sudden developed a desire to kill cops and see himself get killed, why would he grab the gun, rush up to the officer, and place it on his chest? That's just dumb as hell. That's a terrible story that they made up. If he wanted to shoot an officer, I assume he would have picked up the gun and began to fire it. Number one, he knows all of the officers have vests on. So why would he go up and jam the gun against his chest? But this is the bigger question. These cops are trained to be able to pull their guns at a moment's notice and fire. They're trained, well trained. Why do you want me to believe that you allowed a black man to pick up a gun, rush at you into your personal space, place it on your chest, and neither of you shot him within all of that time? Neither of you fired a shot. That again is bullcrap. Now, we have to look at the person that was killed. We have a young man here who was a supervisor at UPS, who had 3 kids who he came over to visit, who had a lot to live for and was pretty much a successful individual. Why do I believe he all of a sudden developed a death wish and wanted to be killed by police and wanted to commit suicide? That's the question we have to ask. Also, if he went over here to play with his kids, why would he be armed when he's going to play with his little kids? That's the question we need to ask. Did they plant the gun there? Okay, this is one of the worst stories that I've ever heard. And lastly, they claim that they didn't shoot the guy until he ran away from them. And then for some reason, as he's fleeing, he decides to turn back around, and that's when they shoot. Well, if he just committed an assault and attempted murder on a police officer and then decided to flee the scene, why do I believe he just decided to turn back around all of a sudden, and you waited until he did that to shoot him? This is bullcrap. You don't need to buy it. And you definitely need to see from this that police kill black men and make up stories to justify it. The problem is this isn't even a good story. This is one of the worst I've ever heard.